Welcome, Buff fans. Please be joined by Adam Munsterteiger. We're going to talk about National Signing Day. It's been earlier the last couple of years than ever before, Adam, and so we get to do this early December, and so we have a lot to talk about today. Not a huge class for the Buffs, but yeah, I mean, there's always stuff to talk about with signing day, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot to talk about. A very quick turnaround from that season finale. That's something that we're not used to. It used to be you ease into that first Wednesday in February, and you've got a lot of time to kind of prep for that. I guess from that level, it helped you and I out that they didn't sign 25 guys. That would have been
Yeah.
pretty daunting to try to get done. Driving back, or you flew back from Manhattan on Sunday. So yeah, it was again a quality over quantity approach. And now let's be honest, Brian. If they go 9-3 instead of 3-9 in the regular season, this class is probably going to look a little different, right? You're probably going to have
Right.
some more stars on there. It
Hmm.
is what it is. Now the guys in this class that they signed, I really like, and you know, there have been a couple years with previous coaches at Colorado where they feel like and this was pre-portal era, so it made more sense then, where they felt like they had to sign 25 guys. So they would be offering, they were beating out like New Mexico for recruits,
Yeah.
or
Hmm.
uh, it was you could, if Colorado wanted to sign 25 guys yesterday, they could have done that.
Yeah.
But they don't want to bring in dead weight to this program. So when you talk about this class, it's complicated because big picture standpoint, you wish there were more signees, you wish they were building more for the future. But then you look at the guys they did sign, and I like a lot of these players, Brian.
Yeah, and Coach Prime told us, a couple weeks, I think it was last week, even, during the Tuesday presser, he goes, "I want to get 15 to 17 guys," and they were at 10 through yesterday. We're going to talk about it, but there might be a couple more before this early signing
Mhm.
period's over, which puts you up to about 12, and that gives you some wiggle room for that February signing period, which there's still opportunities to get some good players there. So, um, we're right in line with that number. And I don't know about you, Adam, but like I know a lot of people focus on the overall class ranking, which is not good. It's 103rd right now as I'm looking at 24/7 Sports, and you look at the class rankings of Coach Prime's previous three classes and add them up, and it's not even 103. So they were in the top 25 the previous 3 years. I get it, but for me, Adam, I look at the average player ranking, and they're
Mhm.
actually, that number's pretty solid. It's right there about the middle
Top
of the
top
pack.
half, barely. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think it's seventh in the Big 12.
Mhm.
Their class is 16th, but if you look at the average player ranking, it's seventh. And let's be honest, the class ranking has a lot to do with the numbers, right? They have one of the smallest classes, and so of course you're going to have a lower number, but they don't, like to your point, they don't have the major 5-star, a lot of 4-star guys.
Yeah, and the thing is that there is going to be more importance on what they bring in through the portal as it pertains to Colorado having success in 2026 anyway.
Yeah,
And so when I go to those team rankings, the recruiting rankings, I always go to overall once we get into the portal window, because that's what matters
yeah,
is what are you doing against your competition in your conference in terms of both prep and transfer recruiting for Colorado. 3 years ago, Coach Prime's first season with the Buffs, that first off season, of course, bringing Travis and Shador in, they were ranked number one among Big 12 programs. They ranked number one again the following off season, and then last year they were, I think, second behind Texas Tech in that. It's going to be hard for them to do that coming off 3-9,
yeah.
but uh, get in the top half of the conference and overall recruiting rankings, and evaluate a little bit better, find some good leadership coming in the program, and maybe just as importantly, retain this young talent that you're excited about in certain spots in this program. So there's in 2025, nobody wants to wait to have really strong opinions. You got to let this play out. You just have
Yeah,
to. It's going
yeah,
to be a couple month process of seeing the staff changes. Can they pull in a Darby, a 4-star receiver? We'll talk about him. There are some guys they can still bring in from the prep ranks in this 2026 class. And so, um, yes, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it too much, but if it's kind of like the just short memory some folks have. Like there are guys in this class that uh, folks would have been doing backflips over during the
Yeah,
Carl Durrell era. They
yeah,
really would.
yeah. I think where Prime fans, Buff fans are disappointed, and probably rightfully so, is I was looking at it this morning. You look at the previous three classes under Coach Prime, and 2023, he just gets here, and he makes huge splashes. Lance Cormani McLean flips Dylan Edwards from Notre Dame. Gets Omarion Miller to flip from Nebraska. 2024, lands Jordan Seaton. Flips Draylon Miller from A&M. Cam Michael was looking at A&M in Tennessee. 2025, you land Julian Lewis, and Chauncey Gooden was a huge pickup. Cardi Smith flip from USC. London Merritt, Ohio State flip. This year doesn't have any of that, Adam. I mean, I think that's where Buff fans, and when I look at them, like, they don't have that star power on this class. I like a lot of the guys. I agree with you. I think they filled some pretty good needs, but I think that when you're Coach Prime, and what you promise recruiting wise, what you deliver the first 3 years, it's not showing up right now.
Yeah, he's kind of a victim of his own early recruiting success, but
Yeah.
also I don't think it's wrong for people to assume that Coach Prime should be bringing in more blue chip guys in
Hmm.
prep recruiting classes based
Yeah.
on his reputation. And you can throw in the part of, okay, uh, not only did they go 3-9, but building up to this class, Brian, when they had a lot of these recruits on campus, Coach Prime was back home dealing with cancer.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
there's that part of it too, that you got to throw in there. But for a Colorado fan not to be frustrated, I'd say absolutely you got to be frustrated.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have a chance to get this right in 26, and we'll see how it pans out. There's a lot of challenges. It's one of those things, Brian, that it wasn't one or two things that went wrong. It was a lot of things that went wrong for the Colorado Buffaloes in
Yeah.
2025. So a lot of things to fix. But be frustrated. I think we were frustrated covering this program down the stretch at the end of the year. I mean, it was tough.
Yeah, no question. And when it comes to recruiting, I think the other thing too is, we get caught up so much in the rankings and the star ratings on signing day, and I get it, but how many guys have we seen that have come to this program highly touted that just didn't pan out? And guys that weren't as highly touted, and they were pretty darn good players. And I mean, the classic example is back when Dan Hawkins was the head coach, and you land Daryl Scott, and then you grab some other running back in that class, Rodney Stewart. Well, Rodney Stewart becomes one of the all-time leading rushers in program history, and Daryl Scott didn't work out. So you have plenty of examples like that. The reality is, it does come down to what does this staff, which who knows what it looks like, but what does this staff do with the guys they're bringing in? That's really what matters, and not so much of what the star rating is right now, but what do they do with these guys and how do they fit in this program?
Well, there's been one certainty with every recruiting class that I've covered at Colorado, and that's that there is going to be a guy or multiple guys that vastly exceed their star rating. David Bakhtiari is the first name that comes to mind, and there are going to be on the flip side guys that conversely do the opposite, that have a lot of stars by their name and are not going to live up to that. I do think that the national recruiting analysts on 24/7 Sports, on three Rivals, ESPN, I think they did a pretty good job of the hierarchy of what these kids look like on film in terms of their potential for the next level. But yeah, they're still 18-year-olds that are going to come on campus, and some will wilter under those bright lights and some will shine. And
Yeah.
that is a guarantee every recruiting class. But I do actually agree with a lot of the ratings for Colorado's 2026 signing class.
Yeah, I apologize for the coughing. We were talking before. I've got a cough drop in my mouth. I've had this annoying cough that just won't go away. But yeah, I like a lot of these guys. So let's start getting into this class, Adam. And
Yeah.
you've obviously looked at it way more than I have, but so I'm gonna trust your opinion more than mine. But tell me, there's 10 guys here, 9 high school players, and then Doma Topeka Jr., who's coming in from the junior college ranks, and of those 10 that are on board right now, we're going to talk about a couple others that may be coming on board, but of the 10 on board right now, who do you like? Who's the let's start this. Who's your favorite player in this class?
Carson Crawford from Texas, Carthage, Texas. He's a winner. He's a dog. I was saying this yesterday, Brian, is that like you look at him, he kind of looks like a big receiver right now, not
Hmm.
necessarily like a linebacker right now, but he reminds me so much of kind of like just some of the stuff we saw from Nate Landman early in his career, even
Yeah.
like an Addison Gillum, where because he can run like a deer too.
Yeah.
And so I think once his body fills out, he's going to be an all conference type guy at the next level. And then Preston Ashley, I think, can come in from Mississippi and battle for the starting nickelback job from day one. He's very versatile, very aggressive, does not mind getting his hands dirty in the box. Those are the top two rated guys, so it kind of falls in line with what I was telling you about that. I think they pegged it with those two guys being the best in this class right now, and then
Yeah.
we'll see if Darby jumps on board from the receiver ranks because he's a very versatile receiver that could be a big addition to this class. But those two guys, I think, are going to be very, very good Buffaloes. And the one I'll throw it to you. The lowest guy though on this is Maurice Williams in terms of his rating. He's a cornerback from Edna Carr in New Orleans. I actually think he's the most underrated in this class, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to come in and I don't know if he's going to start from day one. Probably not. You're probably going to try to bolster that position through the portal a little bit, but
Yeah.
I really like his upside down the road as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And for me, maybe I'm biased because I did an interview with him the other day and met him. But Preston Ashley is my favorite, player in this class. Not only because of what he can do, but just in talking to him, I love his attitude. I mean, he sounds like the leader that CU didn't have this year. Just the way he talked about this program, and his comment to me was, he wants to get this to the point where people when they mention Colorado don't go, oh, that's cool. He goes, I want them to say, yeah, I want to go there because Preston Ashley makes it, pave the way for me. Preston Ashley and guys like that. And so you love that attitude. And he was telling me that, look, being down in Mississippi, there's a lot of people that would tell him later in this year, have you seen Colorado's record? Why are you still going there? And he's like, I bleed black and gold. I'm excited to get this thing turned around. And so I love his attitude, but I love the way he plays as well. I think, is he a potential starter out of the gates? I mean, you mentioned, I mean, he'll compete at nickel. I mean, do you think he can be that starter?
Well, the good thing is that Ashley and most of these guys, the vast majority, are going to be on campus for spring ball. So we'll
Yeah.
get kind of a feel for that now. It's a little bit tougher because you don't have that second transfer window in the spring now. So um, you don't get to test out Preston Ashley to figure out if you need, to really make Nickelback a priority in the transfer portal. Really, what I think you need to do with the mentality has to be that you hope these true freshmen can come in and push a guy you bring from the portal for a job. And that's where I would kind of look at it with Ashley. Is like you're not banking on him necessarily being the starter next year because that's hard to do. Until they get on campus.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all the signs say that Preston Ashley should be ready to go pretty early in his career. You want assurance, and we saw injuries pile up at certain spots, and we talked all preseason about how deep they were in the defensive tackles room, and by the end of the year, Mana Taimani's playing defensive line.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can never have too much depth when it comes to that. But I do think Preston Ashley is going to be in the mix right away.
Let me ask you a question on a guy that is not in this class, and I'm going to throw a little wrench at you. But we're talking about Preston Ashley and Maurice Williams in that DB room. Noah King came in last year, a transfer from Kansas State, but really he was just a true freshman that enrolled in January, was there for one semester. So really a sort of a high school signee, but he was a four-star guy, Adam. I think he was injured a lot of this year.
Mhm.
Obviously didn't play. Uh, are they in better shape in that room than maybe we think because they have some pretty good young talent that just hasn't seen the field yet?
Uh, if DJ McKinney comes back, uh, you get more development out of TM Parks. You
Yeah.
develop RJ Johnson. You mentioned, yeah, Noah King. It could, but right now, I think it's too early to say that definitively.
Yeah. I guess what did you think of Noah King coming out? I mean, because he's a guy we haven't seen, but he was a four-star coming out just a year ago.
Yeah, I haven't heard a whole lot about him outside of the fact that he was banged up, but there are
Yeah,
folks in the program that definitely like his potential. He was very highly regarded, spent one semester at Kansas State. So
yeah,
you hope that he's settled in here in Boulder and comes back and is part of that mix because, you know, you can say what you want to about the cornerback play in 2025. And if it's a negative, it's probably right. But going forward, I still think being coached by Deion Sanders, in that position is a benefit for you going forward with your
yeah.
career.
No question. Sorry about that. I know that's throwing a wrench at you with Noah King, but it was just
No, you're
something that
fine.
I thought of. He's that guy. He's a guy in that room that just hasn't. We haven't heard anything of because he was
Yeah.
injured. But just going down the list, I guess you mentioned already, but your most underrated, Maurice Williams. Anybody else that kind of jumps out at you as saying, this guy's not being talked about a lot, but I really like this player.
Well, one guy we're going to really enjoy chatting with is Xavier Payne. He's got a great personality, 6'7", 320, very successful career there at Jones in Orlando, Florida. They're
Yeah,
in the semifinals this weekend. Um, I would like to see him kind of go on a similar trajectory that we saw with Chauncey Gooden, right? Where you don't necessarily bring him in and have to thrust him into Big 12 game action right away. But by the end of that true freshman season, when they're redshirting, uh, you kind of like the trajectory they're on. I think Gooden is probably on track to start for the Buffaloes next year based on
yeah,
what he was able to do while redshirting. I could see kind of a similar path with Xavier Payne. With any old lineman, I don't think you're ever predicting them to start from day one unless it's a Jordan Seaton type that,
right.
is a five-star guy. So with him, that's a guy that I think is going to have a pretty bright future pretty quickly as well. I would say Colby Johnson and Josiah Manu are probably more developmental type pieces in terms of their just maturation at this point. Manu played defensive end for Thompson Valley and had to slim down quite a bit for that, so he's going to have to put some back some weight on. Colby Johnson, very thin coming in from Washington. Now he could be a special teams guy though from day one for you.
Yeah,
So those are some of the guys. Rodney Colton Jr., obviously the linebacker that took some other visits late in the process, but stuck with the Buffaloes. He's out of Georgia. He's got some great tape out there as well, and certainly, I would say this, Brian. I really like this linebacker class that they brought in from the prep ranks.
yeah, yeah. I was going to get there as well. I want to say one thing about Xavier Payne is I remember, I saw the clip just yesterday, but Jordan Seaton was on the DNVR podcast at Big 12 Media Day, and he was asked about Xavier Payne. And he said, I walked in the office and saw that kid and was like, holy cow, he's a massive human being. And so
Yeah.
if Jordan Seaton's saying that, this is a big man coming to Colorado. So, yeah, linebacker for sure. There was some clear emphasis with this group of 10, right? There's only one offensive skill position player among these 10, which is kind of a difference from previous Coach Prime classes to this point because there's been a lot of receivers and things like that, but this was very heavy defense, very heavy offensive line. And look, inside linebacker is a huge position of need for this team. Scholarship wise, there's only one guy on the roster left, and that's Kylan Salter, and we'll see if he stays. So you need, obviously you're going to hit it in the portal, but three guys in this class: Carson Crawford, Rodney Colton Jr., and Colby Johnson. I think it's a good group. I like this linebacker group, and there's going to be a lot of competition among those three guys.
Yeah, you wish Mantrez Walker was still around too, because
Yeah.
he was a guy that
Hmm.
we were starting to hear some, buzz about his potential as well. That would have been nice to see him competing in that Mike linebacker room going into the offseason. But yeah, that whole room is going to look so different next year, and there's so much pressure on that group because you can go back to Brian the BYU Alamo Bowl when Nikai Hill Green was not participating. From that point through this whole season, linebacker has been an issue, and there were a few bright moments out of Jeremiah Brown and Sean Myers and even some takeaways by French early in the season and a couple plays here and there by Hughes. But I mean that if you want to really like focus on one thing defensively that was the biggest issue, you probably
Yeah.
look to that linebacker room in
Yep.
2025, right?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned those four guys that really played, and not one of them held down the job the entire year. I mean, they were kind of rotating guys. Jeremiah Brown, the second half of the year was pretty much locked in, other than he missed the ASU game with an injury. But really, aside from that, Martavius French got benched. Reginald Hughes got benched at times. Sean Myers, couldn't see the field for a while. Jeremiah Brown got benched at times. So that group certainly, I think, was a big part of the struggles on defense this year. And even when Sean Myers was making plays, he obviously was not.
Do you want to talk about this, Brian,
Not
or
really.
okay?
I got some film to watch. Let's just put it that way. I was not offended by that, by the way. It's all good.
Yeah,
I understand what he was saying. But
you guys hashed it out. It's all good. Yeah, I
it's all
mean,
good.
I
It's
think
all good.
I think that's the thing that some people don't know is that uh, you know, in those moments, sometimes you're frustrated, and then you kind of reflect and you get past it pretty quick.
Yeah, and look, I don't think he handled that great. I think he kind of threw Sean Myers under the bus. But I also, in hindsight, I'm like, that was probably a better Tuesday question and not a question after a game when you just gave up 42 points. But it is what it is. Moving on. You know, Sean Myers did make some plays, but the bottom line is that position, obviously, and they're not gonna go with just these three young guys and Kylan Salter. They're gonna add in the portal. I mean, they
Yeah.
they need to find some guys in the portal. I mean, you've got to find, and this is no offense to Kylan Salter, but in a year that you struggled at linebacker, he didn't really get on the field. So they need to find two starters out of the portal, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, Brian, I would say aside from like safety, I mean, like the to-do list from the transfer portal is going to be very, very long.
Yeah, and Coach Prime
You
mentioned it, especially
yeah,
defensively, right? That it's going
yeah,
to be there's a lot to do defensively.
yeah. We'll see if McKinney comes back. If not, then yeah, corner you gotta get an elite stud there.
Yeah,
Running back's pretty solid too, but if you could kind of take what they have at that position right now and bring in another stud to compete with those guys, I think you'd like that room going into
yeah,
next season as well. Receiver, there's been a lot of speculation on Omari Miller, and I think he kind of bucked back a little bit on social media yesterday. So I don't know
yeah,
what's going on there. Nothing's going to be official here for about another month in terms of
right.
the transfer portal. But there are a few spots where you're like, okay, I like the core. Let's add a piece here or there.
Yeah,
Linebacker's one of those where it's like you got to rebuild
there
this entire
there is
room.
no core, right?
Yeah,
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 and running back, by the way, real quick, I don't want to focus too much on the roster as much, but running back, DeKalen Taylor can come back because
right.
he only played the 4 games and he had a redshirt year. And Simeon Price, don't be surprised if he gets a medical redshirt and comes back. And those two guys were very productive early in the year. You had those two to hopefully Dallin Hayden and Micah Welch coming back. We'll see what they do with Cam Michael and Draylon Miller, but all of a sudden that room doesn't look too bad. So we'll see. But one other guy I want to ask you about in this class before we move on, Adam, is Domata Peko Jr. That first off, one of my first thoughts yesterday when he signed was, okay, his dad's staying on the coaching staff because
Yeah.
and we don't know the coaching staff moves yet. But I'm like, that's a sign that Domata Peko will still be the defensive line coach. Did you have the same thought?
I did. And Joseph Pecco is going to be announcing his decision in mid-January at the All Polynesian Bowl out in Hawaii. So
Yeah,
they might add another Pecco to the mix. But yeah, I definitely, especially when he didn't sign early, I was like, huh, okay. And then yeah, it comes through, and you're like, okay.
yeah,
Now I had the same reaction as you, but
yeah.
Domata Peko Jr. Before he got hurt this season, he was very disruptive at the line of scrimmage, and he's very good at batting down passes at the line of scrimmage. So you add him to that group with McPherson and Merritt, and you like being able to kind of add that piece in there.
Do you know his story? Why he went the JUCO route out of high school?
I believe it was academics. He kind of bounced
Okay.
around a little bit. I will have a better answer for. I remember talking to him about that like a year ago.
Yeah,
Um,
because he played at one other junior college
he
before,
did.
didn't he?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think he comes in as a junior. He's got a couple years of eligibility left, but yeah, I mean he's a guy that adds to that mix again. That defensive end group. You lose an Arden Walker, you lose Keaton Wade. Pecco's that one of those guys that can come in and maybe make up for one of those losses, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking back at this. He actually signed with Hawaii. Uh, Domata Peko Jr. did. But then he ended up having to go the JUCO route for that reason. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, all
Just
right.
wanted to double check that. I wanted to make sure I wasn't putting something out there that wasn't accurate. What was your question?
Just, I mean, losing Arden Walker, losing Keaton Wade. I mean, Pecco seems like a guy that can come in and, maybe take one of those spots, and combine with London Merritt, Alex McPherson. All of a sudden, you got a nice, group there as well.
Yeah. Wade and Arden Walker were the least of their problems this year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say Walker was playing at the all conference level that I expected him, though, to
yeah.
this past season.
I think he was
So,
affected by. Uh, Sometimes when those linebackers and defensive line play better, you're going to look better too.
sure.
And I think he had more production last year, but they also had more leads last year. And obviously, when you're in the lead, you can pin your ears back a little bit more. And so I think he was affected by some of that. I agree with you. I didn't think Arden Walker was a problem. I don't think he ever played poorly. I just think it was harder for him to get to the quarterback this year.
Yeah. I guess a part of that is on me because I had him on my preseason all conference team for the Big 12. So
Yeah,
I was kind of
I think I did
trying to
too, actually.
did you? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
there were five defensive linemen, which included edge guys and defensive tackles. So it was a little bit trickier to kind of pick out those guys, but he was my fifth guy on that list going
yeah,
into.
yeah. He was one I expected to take that jump and be. I didn't know if I saw a 10 sack season, but I thought I saw close to that, an 8 or 9 sack type of season. He didn't get there. I don't know what his final number was. I think it was 2 or 3. But again,
He had a lot of pressures though,
he
for
did,
sure.
and so
Uh,
did Keaton Wade. I mean, you're right. I mean, both those guys, they were the least of their problems. They played well. You missed Sam Okunlola, but I, I still don't think would they have been much better on defense with Sam Okunlola. I'm not sure. I mean, you needed better
Probably
linebacker
not
play.
because of how well Merritt played.
Yeah,
If Merritt didn't and McPherson didn't have those moments, I think maybe then you could say that was an issue. But
right.
those guys were pretty darn solid.
Yeah, yeah, no question. And so anything else in this class? I mean, with this group of 10, before we go on to a couple guys that may be added to this class. I mean, Christian Ward, he's the one skill guy on offense they've got right now. He is projected at receiver, right? I know he's kind of an
Correct.
athlete type, but he'll be a receiver here, right?
I believe so. His younger brother, who we'll talk about, is more kind of the athlete
Yeah,
label coming in. But I think, yeah, you're going to see Christian Ward play receiver 6'3", 195. Had a pretty solid season there at IMG this year. And we've seen how well those guys have been able to mesh in after getting that kind of college prep experience at
yeah.
IMG. He's originally from Georgia, didn't go to school with Julian Lewis, but they grew up familiar with each other and are friends, and so that was a good connection there. And those two guys, I think, are gonna be able to build a pretty good bond, just given kind of their history.
Didn't they play? Didn't weren't they on the same team when Christian was a sophomore?
At Carrollton, was that the
Yeah,
case?
I
Okay.
think so. When I was looking at stuff yesterday, I think they
Well,
were
he was yeah
teammates.
he was at Walton before he went to IMG
Yeah, I
in
think he was
Georgia.
at Carrollton in 23.
Okay.
So I think they played together a little bit. Sorry
And
again.
I'm fact checking you right now.
I think I
uh,
saw that yesterday, but
okay.
Christian was a sophomore and not he wasn't like one of their leading receivers, but he had a pretty good year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, fact check it for me.
Yeah, I'm not. Let's see here.
I'm gonna look it up as well.
Yeah, he
Milwaukee.
did. And yeah, you're right. In 23. Yep.
Okay, okay, all right.
Yep.
So I mean, we've seen a lot of freshman receivers be able to come in and play. We saw it again this year. Is Christian one of those types? You think? I mean, 6'3", big body receiver.
I think part of that is kind of how that room looks going into the off season because that right now you like a lot of that core with Joseph Williams
Yeah,
and we'll see what Isaiah Harge does in terms of his position going forward. We'll see if Omarion Miller's back. You've got some pieces there that you could feel really good about the future at that position, but there's certainly an opportunity for him to coming in from IMG. I don't think we've had an IMG guy come in recently at Colorado and not have an impact as a
right.
true freshman.
Yeah, because I mean, the ones I'm thinking of, I don't know if it's just these guys, but Jordan Seaton, Cash Cleveland, then London Merritt, Alex McPherson. Is there anybody
Yeah.
else?
Not in the last couple of years. Yeah, those are
Yeah,
the
and
guys.
I mean all four of those guys I think would, well, Cash isn't here anymore, but I mean the three you would say are hopefully part of the core going forward, right? And we'll see what
Yeah.
happens with Jordan. But as far as guys that aren't on board yet, let's start with Alexander Ward since we're talking about his brother. He decided to reclassify. He's a 27 guy that decided to reclassify. What's your thoughts on him? And are we going to see him sign here in the early period?
Yeah, I think we will. And maybe it was a thing where, Christian gets his day and then Alex gets his day where
Yeah.
they get to announce their signing. But yeah, he's expected to be a Buff. I wouldn't have any concerns there at this point. He was committed to Alabama for a while. So definitely, a very highly regarded guy in that 27 class, like you said, reclassifies. He's about 6'1", 174. So he's going to kind of be on that similar trajectory of Juju, where he's going to cut out a year of high school.
Yeah.
And so it might take a little bit more time just to kind of get through that maturation barrier. But they're talking about him being a two-way guy for Colorado. And
Okay.
I think you
Hmm.
might actually see him get an opportunity to showcase himself on both sides of the ball pretty early in his career. That's kind of part of the sales pitch that's been put out there for Alex to join the Buffs.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, he's an interesting one for sure. He's one of the more intriguing ones I see on this list. Just in part because he decided to reclassify, and you always wonder those guys, how ready are they going to be for college football this early, especially. I mean, is Alexander coming in? Alex Ward, is he coming in January?
I'm actually trying to get clarification on that right now. I
Okay.
know that I know Christian is,
Yeah.
and I have not seen an IMG guy not be a mid-year guy, even when they reclassify. But
Okay.
I need to get clarification on that.
Okay. And then the other guy, and you've mentioned him a couple times, Kenny Darby. He had been committed to LSU, decommitted recently, right?
Yeah, just a couple. Actually, I think decommitted yesterday. Got an offer from
Yeah.
Colorado a couple days ago. He was previously committed to Mississippi State earlier in the process. Miami has made a run at him. Deion Sanders had a Zoom call with him this week, and so we'll see. He's planning to sign on Friday. We're recording this on Thursday. Right now, I like where the Buffs stand with him. It's not a done deal, from what I understand, but I think there's a really good chance they add another blue chipper to this recruiting class in Kenny Darby, who you were asking me about Christian Ward and his chance to play early. I think Kenny Darby could definitely play early. This is you watch his
Mhm.
tape, it's kind of the full portfolio. He does a lot of things really well, and
Yeah.
he's not the biggest guy. He's about 6'1", 180, but he's big enough, and he does a pretty good job of high pointing balls. He kind of almost looks like a 6'3" type receiver out there at times, with just the way that he is able to kind of time things out perfectly as a
Yeah.
receiver. So he'd be a big get. Julian Lewis has been out there on social media trying to get him on board, and you can tell that he wants to be able to have Darby
Yeah.
as a throwing target here in 2026.
Well, there's two things Julian Lewis needs, and it's targets and it's people protecting him.
Yeah,
They're hopefully getting some of those guys. And Darby, as far as his rating on 24/7 Sports, he's right up there with Carson Crawford. So and Preston Ashley. So he'd be one of the kind of the headliners of this class if
yeah.
they can get him, and that'd be a huge one. So again, as we start at the top, there's 10 guys. This list will grow a little bit. It's not going to be huge, but overall, again, to me, Adam, solid class, not flashy, but it fills some needs.
Yeah, no, if I'm a Colorado fan, I'm actually given 3-9. And given that Coach Prime was not there when these recruits were going through on their official visits last summer, I, I like a lot about this class. It's so much more important to get this offensive coordinator hire right. It's
Yeah,
so much more important to really dominate the portal, kind of like they did a couple years ago, as opposed to last year where they missed out on a lot of those evaluations. So you can sit there and be up in arms about the lack of signees from the prep ranks, but when we're talking about Colorado's chance for success in 26, again, it's those other things that are much more important right now for Colorado in terms of building, this program back up after a disappointing season.
yeah, and look, to Coach Prime's point, he mentioned, why would I sign 30 when half of them are going to leave? After that first year. I'm trying to find, I don't know where I have the numbers, but um, it's half the guys that have left this program, the signees he has. I mean, the first year, I think it was I think it's more than half. I think it's 17 guys in this first year, and four are left for the program. Second year, there's 12, and six are left for the program. Last year, they signed 15, and four are already gone. So, yeah, it's hard to really count on those high school ranks when that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, if you get to a point where you're stringing together successful seasons, though, I, and if you can somehow get a little bit more NIL infrastructure, which is always going to be very challenging in
Yeah.
Colorado. I mean,
Hmm.
they had a guy that was going to flip from Penn State to them yesterday. That Virginia Tech comes in and offers a bag, and they it's still a challenge for them. But you just want to get the right 15 guys in the
Yeah.
class. Um, and if you string together, kind of going back to what I was building off there, successful seasons, you want to have a little bit more of that healthy underclass pipeline in your program.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been perfect, but um, again, the issue was that they didn't evaluate out of the portal great last year.
Right.
Not that they didn't recruit well out of the prep ranks in terms of what their record was in 25. It was about portal recruiting, and that's what it's going to be again
Yeah.
this offseason.
Yeah, and look, the guys that have stayed here have played pretty well. The high school guys. I mean, you look at
Mhm.
Omarion, you look at I know Draylon didn't have the year we thought this year, but I still think he's a pretty good player. Juju, Jordan Seaton, Merritt, McPherson, Quentin Gibson shows a lot of promise. So does Farrakhan, I believe, and so there's a lot of pretty good players they've gotten. I think there's some good players in this class too. It just doesn't have that flash. I see my bottom line, Adam, is if you're a Buff fan, I see reason to be disappointed. I also see reason to where you can say, okay, it's not sky is falling. This is a fine class, but you're right. The point is the portal, and that's what's going to make the biggest impact on the 2026 season is what they do in the portal, and they've got a lot of spots to fill, a lot of holes to fill. They got to get a lot better.
Where it sucks is just as a college football fan, you used to be able to watch these guys come in as true freshmen and maybe they redshirt and they're there 5 years and you kind of go on this journey with them throughout their college career, watch their maturation, watch them, grow on and off the field. And you don't have as much of that connection as a college football fan, but that's not Colorado specific. I mean, that's pretty much
Yeah.
college football in general in 2025 going into 26.
Yeah. The other hard part I think is, like yesterday I'm watching all the text alerts or the Twitter alerts from, all the main, recruiting services and so flips. It's like, it's not Colorado, and then so there's all this exciting recruiting news yesterday and none of it's really Colorado. And so I think that's what fans want with Coach Prime is where is that splash? Where's that exciting recruiting news? You're probably not going to get it in this class. Although if you land,
Kenny Darby.
if you
Yeah.
land Kenny Darby, that's a good one. But again, let's see what kind of splash they can make in the portal.
Yeah. No, it's not black or white. It's gray area with this recruiting class.
Yeah,
Had they won more games, I think you'd see more star power in it, like I said earlier. But I do like the guys that they picked out to sign in this class.
awesome. Well, Adam, it's good to catch up with you. We're still recovering from a long season, I think, and
Yeah.
I know signing day. We'll ask you this. I think Coach Prime is the only coach that doesn't do a signing day press conference.
No.
I'm watching everybody do all these press conferences. I sort of miss that, but in some ways, is it nice to not have to go to Boulder on signing day where you can just kind of hunker down at home and watch all the news come in?
Yeah, because this is like our bread and butter, Brian. Like
Yeah,
I cover these recruits the whole process, and so I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on it. It is. I did enjoy back in the February signing period when you'd have a head coach at Colorado, though, that would go through the entire roster and kind of just share some fun stories from like their in-home visits and stuff like that. I think that was the
yeah,
content that I really enjoyed. Um, yeah, I mean, would I prefer there be a signing day press conference? Yes. The fact that there was not is not affecting my job or livelihood too much, so I'm
yeah.
definitely not losing sleep over it. But it would be nice. In February at least with kind of the after the transfer portal window to be able to talk to Coach Prime and get some of his thoughts on these guys.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, throughout his history, he hasn't done one yet since he's been here. So I'm not holding my breath on that one, but it would be nice just to kind of get his thoughts.
His first year he did one.
Oh, did he do
Um,
one? Yeah.
February.
February
Yeah.
23. You're right. He did do
Yeah.
one there. So it'd be nice to do that again. And in part because I'd like to get all that sort of out of the way before we get to spring ball, right? Let's talk about all these new guys and then get to spring ball. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he does it again. But
Well,
Adam, get
that would give you 2 months to watch some Sean Myers film, so that would be good.
he's no longer here, so I'm not worried about Sean Myers' film. I'm gonna watch film of other guys, Adam. But thank you very
Sorry,
much.
I had to. I
Yeah,
had to.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, but you get to relax a little bit now, right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'd imagine there's going to be some coaching stuff trickling out at some
That's
point
true.
here. I don't know what the timetable is on all that,
I
but
guess relax on the recruiting front, but yeah, there's
I will take a nap today if
there you
that
go.
answers your question,
There
and
you go.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, enjoy your nap, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good, Brian.